Listen up, Charles. This is a dummy version of the key. It's heavy. That's a creepy key. It's nearly the same weight and size as the key in question. A small but solid seeming safe was sit on the desk. Its design, which was more exceedingly ornamental than gorgeous, matched Wang's taste well. For the purpose of this plan, Lee had obtained a safe and a key that Wang had once used. The weight of the key, its size, and shape of the keyhole were almost exactly the same. The key had some weight to it. If it fell, it would surely make a loud sound. So this is what I've got to. Yep. Oh, they're gonna replace the key. We can't get started without your magic fingers. Choice of words. Charles played with the large key in his palm, like a magician making cards dance with his fingers. We're gonna fucking Indiana Jones the fuck out of this key. It spun around as he played with it skillfully, but it eventually caught one of its fingers and fell to the ground. That hopelessly loud clunk echoed through the underground room several times. Goes without saying the metallic sound particular to dropped key carries well, even in a noisy place. On top of that, the real thing would happen in a luxury restaurant. If they dropped it, there was a 100% chance of them being noticed. In other words, a 100% chance of death. That screw up just now would have killed us all. Yep. Would have happened right after you grabbed the boss's key. You couldn't pass that off as a joke. If you can't do it, just say so. It wasn't just such an outrageous strategy from the beginning. It was just... I can't force you into such a ridiculous plan for my own father's sake. Give her some fucking magic fingers, Charles. Without speaking, Charles continued to play with the key. Then he stuck it into the key to test the feel of turning it into the hole. I'm not scared at all. As an alley rat pickpocket, death was always right beside me. Well, yeah, when you get caught, you're gonna get the shit beat out of you. Who would show mercy to a dirty pickpocketing brat? They would just beat him up and kick him until he died, then toss him in a garbage bin. No one would stop them. Even if he was lucky enough to survive, if he had even a broken a bone, that would be enough to finish him. Yeah, because there would be no way to, like, reset it. Shit like that. And then, like, your leg's broken, how are you gonna feed yourself? After that, he'd only be able to crawl along the earth, fish through garbage bins, and weaken until he died. It's not what's got me scared. If I screw up, my comrades will suffer. That's all. If you did mess up, none of us would hate you for it. After all, if it weren't for those fingers of yours, we wouldn't had any hope in the first place. Zell, stop talking about his fingers. Only Nina knows about that. Thanks, Zell. The same goes for everyone, and for me too. In other words, we're all in this together. We're comrades, after all. That's not it. We're family, so we can trust each other. You may have been uneasy when you thought about comrades suffering because of your mistakes, but you've never been afraid of comrades' mistakes killing you. You're right, now that I mention it, that's true. Well, screwing up, troubling everyone else is basically my role. I can't even imagine Oliver and Nina screwing up, much less you. I'm the one who can't imagine you failing. Charles scratched his head, acting embarrassed, but his expression was already grown calm. In that case, let's talk about positioning. Yeah, your position is right here, in front of the table. As Charles toyed with the key, you stood facing the table with the safe on it. That was in the corner of the room. Zell had ran through the corner diagonally opposite. The underground room was fairly large, and the distance between the two corners was about 15 meters. Over there was a large target, as tall as her chest, covered in a blanket. Charles glanced over his shoulder at her position. That's our target, pretty far away. Yep, it's the exact distance according to the plans. Let's give it a shot. I hit Nina. Shake my fucking head. One moment, he seemed to be playing with the keyhole, and in a instant later, the key suddenly and silently shot backwards from under Charles' armpit. What? It landed at Zell's feet, making a noisy sound. If it had landed on the cloth on the target, it wouldn't have made a sound. Just snatching is no big deal. This is the first for me, throwing stuff as accurately as this. You can make up for it if your aim is slightly off, but don't count on that. I know. From here to there's my world. I'll pull it off perfectly. More. I mean, if you just get used to it, and then it's like slightly different, and it's like, well, I'm fucked. Once again, the throwing key landed on the floor far from the target. Gotta pick this up every time. It'll waste our time training. Training time. You give me a pile of stuff, something as long as it's the same weight and size. Leave it to me, I'll bring you a mountain. So think you can pull it off? It's been done with minimal movement, in an instant accurately. On top of that, you've thrown it at the target with its back almost completely turned. This is where baseball comes into play. This is getting interesting. Let's do it. Oof. Saved. More. Bottom corner. Easy. Oof, that would have been good to fucking snap, but whatever. Damn, you're bad. Like, I don't understand what sort of special training this is. I could understand pickpocketing a key, but throwing it? You'll understand eventually, but it certainly is outrageous. He's gonna like throw it over the edge and someone's gonna catch it, right? Oh, it's so bad. I'm trash. Nina wasn't in Chinatown back alley, shooting someone. She's apparently just had her slingshot band replaced with something more powerful. Nina pulled on it repeatedly, getting her hands accustomed to it. Now this thing's got power, and it's sturdy too. I mean, especially according to your requests. It also means I'll need more power to handle it. When I pull back on all my strength, my arms start shaking. Nina, how's your new slingshot? I think it's great. She's a fighter, but worth breaking in. Zell appeared on the roof of a storehouse. She was holding a bag filled with empty cans. She lined those cans up on the edge of the roof. Oh god, no, not more. Not more fucking clicking around. Ugh. She was probably going to use them as targets for Nina's slingshot. By the way, there was a river ditch behind the storehouse. Missed shots wouldn't bother anyone. Well, yeah, hopefully. I know you've got a perfect aim, Nina. Still, try and use it. See if you can do it with that slingshot, which needs more power. Here it comes. Let's do this. Please. Oof. Oof. God, that was close. Focus. Focus mode. Racked. Nina's skills was as impressive as ever. With a faint sound, empty cans were knocked over one after another. However, she suddenly missed a target. Oops. After that, she couldn't hit them at all anymore. And eventually she was left panting, unable to even pull back the band. Okay, well, we found that there is a stamina limit. This takes power. My arms are shaking. Apparently pulling back the strong band required a significant application of force. Nina's thin arms were screaming and shaking. She's got really pretty arms. Let's calm down here. Think it'll be tough? We need a lot more power during the real thing. If you can't do it, just say so. We'll just have to think of a different plan. You're kidding. I know how hard you worked to iron this plan out. There could be no other plan. She could tell this was the only plan the Wandering Dogs could use to attack the GDS's VIP castle. Just need to get used to it a bit. I'll start. I've still got lots left in me. Spring on the training. With a bold smile on her now sweating face, Nina fired off another shot. However, the shot went in entirely the wrong direction. Let's take a quick break and get used to it. Get used to it with a slightly closer target. You're joking! If I'd made that mistake during the real thing, we'd be dead. It'd be better to die for someone else's mistake so I could say you'd screwed that up, dumbass, in the next world. Even if we end up dead, I couldn't bear to be the one who screwed it up and took everyone else with me. I can't let something like this get me down. I'd be too embarrassed to face the other two. Time to pull myself together and give it another go. Nina's passionate flames burned away the ineptitude of the fatigue that had stopped her arms. After she wiped the sweat away, she could certainly see the blazing flames within her eyes. Right now, her physical strength was less than Charles or Oliver's, but when she had been young, boys had been no threat to her. She'd been a fearless brat girl general, leading the brats in her community. A brat general like that wouldn't work as a lady of the evening, not just because she was a woman. That's right. This right here, and the trials she was going through right now, were what she wanted more than anything. It's enough charging my spirits. Zell, line up a bunch more empty cans. I'll keep moving forward. Time for Nina to show her guts. Nina it is. She can hit me with a slingshot. Just take what it gives me. If it's 3, it's 3. If it's 4, I'll push the 4, but I'll take the fucking 3. Thank God for the KO. The battle between Nina and the empty can Zell set up on the roof continued on and on. How dexterous. So even a child's toy can become a fearsome weapon when perfected. I see. It's an exercise that increases her burden by putting the target in a high place. No matter how powerful she pulled back on the band, it could never become a replacement for a handgun. Well, yeah, no fucking shit. I mean, like, when would, like, you know how fucking strong that would have to be? However, if she used that power to throw grenades, this might make for a powerful yet accurate grenade launcher. See, I see, so that's what this is. Grenades are heavy and their area of damage is significant. Unless they're thrown with significant force, they can be dangerous to the user. No fucking slingshot is going to do anything. With this powerful slingshot and its powerful band, something like that might be possible. However, after seeing that key pickpocketing practice Charles had been doing, it didn't add up. Weren't they focusing on doing this secretly, since they have no chance of winning if they were discovered? But seeing Nina's full-powered training, this was starting to look like a strategy relying on over-the-top force. I don't understand. Lee, just what on earth are they planning? That's a secret, but it certainly is outrageous. You should think it through yourself. Jalon folded her arms and puffed out her cheeks, looking displeased. What was this plan, which even Lee called outrageous? That building containing the luxury restaurant was truly Wang's castle. Of course, Wang's subordinates were all veterans, rugged men who had survived the vicious fighting against the Kwantung army. The legendary Leo Shishigami may have managed something, but these weren't opponents who could be opposed by a few boys and girls who'd never even held guns before. Their own options was carefully hide their presence and clean things up without raising a ruckus. As she watched the cans go flying one after another, with small, satisfying sound, Jalong cocked her head inquisitively. Wow, I almost had a How did I... That's a lie. Thank you. I'll take it. I'll take it. That shouldn't have been what the score was, but I'll take it. Nothing like the meme. It was night after the people had fallen asleep. Vehicles of a different sort than you'd usually see during the day raced down the street. It was a series of trucks, distribution trucks. Several of them raced down the streets, which had grown quiet, packed with goods. This was truly distribution. Stop. This was how the massive quantities of materials that supported the huge metropolis of Tokyo were transported. This was hardly unusual in Chinatown, but tonight there were more trucks going in and out than usual. Cargo was being packed into a massive storehouse. Back when Wang had purchased enough fake soy sauce to overwhelm Rose's soy sauce. There's been an incredible amount of cargo, but this was even more. It truly was violence in distribution quantity, in numbers that would overwhelm City 23. Oh, there's so much. This is a scale of dealing with Chinatown. Incredible. Dozens of Japanese businessmen were observing this violence in numbers. Claudia was among them. That hard worker was a member of the Japanese Shop Association. Apparently that was why she had received an invitation to this. As they watched the overwhelming amount of materials go by, Wang slowly turned to face them and spread his arms. Isn't that surprising, is it? It isn't that surprising, is it? Haven't you ever looked at a world map? China is 25 times the size of Japan. Well, of course, I'm aware that not all of the Japanese receive higher education. Comparing different areas might be too difficult for you. He was clearly mocking them. However, the businessmen were still stunned and overwhelmed by the incredible amount of goods. I thought he was just going to say the fucking Silk Road already prepared them for transporting mass amounts of goods. But you know what? I'm too fucking smart for him, apparently. Bang. Pre-war Japan didn't have any world maps. It was a joke. That was believed fairly often at the time. Otherwise, wouldn't it be unthinkable for Japan to declare war on America when there was still no end in sight for its war on China? Still, even if you don't understand the numbers, I'm sure you understand what you see. Your national power is hardly anything to be commented upon when compared to our large country. We can't win. Japan can't win against foreign countries. So close. If only you'd understood that before the war. But it still isn't too late. If you now understand that Japan has neighbors who are far superior to it, then you're welcome to join the cosmopolitan world. We understand what you're trying to say. You'll overwhelm everything with your quantity and prices. The end. That's all there is to it. What's the point in telling that to us at this point? We're like candles about to burn out. Chinese merchants are the best in the world. Do you know why that is? It's because they can interact closely with societies from all over the world, blending in. You see, we're fellow merchants. We ought to be getting along. However, because Rose Haibara forced her anachronistic countrymen-first beliefs on you, everything's gotten messed up. Until just a few years ago, we were able to get along fine, right? I know some of you had dealings with Chinatown. When Tokyo transformed to scorched earth, we joined hands, distributed necessities to the city folk, and revived the city. Did we not? At the time, I believe we had a friendship that surpassed the borders of race and nationality. However, Rose took all that away. Her dictatorship in the name of countrymen first stole the free market rights that all of you were supposed to have. Are you really okay with that? Aren't merchants the greatest realists of this era? China, America, Japan, all three countries are mixed together in this new Tokyo. That's the reality of the new Japan that's coming. All Rose Haibara did was gain some temporary support by playing to patriotic feelings of the Japanese who were grief-stricken from losing the war. She used the excuse of countrymen first to deny reality, trying to turn back the clock to the pre-war days. But we merchants know. Those who go against the flow of time will always meet with destruction. Can't we stop playing along with the anachronistic illusion of the idealistic girl called Rose Haibara? When he called Rose a girl, the businessmen all felt as though their hearts had stopped for an instant. In the Japanese section of City 23, she had almost been deified. Even without going that far, there had been an unspoken rule for those who disagreed with her ideals or unpatriotic. For the first time, they were made conscious of the fact. We don't think of Japan as part of China. It's a new land in which lives of new people and new friends. Nothing excites us more than being able to start doing business here. That's why we want to understand the supply and demand of this new land, to make new friends and start new businesses. Please, take another look. See this mountain of goods? No, this castle of goods. It wasn't just soy sauce. Miso, mirin, katsuboshi, niboshi, konbu, wasabi, and more and more and more. Every Japanese person who would gulp at those scents. It was a stack of countless good old Japanese ingredients and flavorings. Of course, just like soy sauce, it would be pretty hard to argue that they weren't inferior. However, now that the city folk had, in fact, accepted bad, fake soy sauce, it was pretty clear that they would accept this without trouble. The city folk didn't care about details when it came to taste. They were only interested in what was cheap. And this soy sauce fever was making people hope for other things. Those many fondly remembered ingredients, which might be called the Japanese soul itself, would surely meet with great demand among the Japanese. The real thing would be scarce and expensive, not something that could be sold to the poor. However, since these were cheap and low quality, they were within reach and could sell explosively. We are considering shipping these to all of Tokyo, with City 23 to start. Normally, we would earn more by selling it directly. However, wealth is made to be shared. So I want to share the profit from this pile of good old Japanese ingredients with my new friends. If we joined with you, we'll have Primavera on our case. When soy sauce started selling, rumor has it President Tokuda joined with you, and Primavera really roughed him up. That was quite a surprise for us as well. However, we did protect the president, you see. President Okada is my friend. I, and Chinatown as well, will never allow anyone to harm our friends. Also, that rumor about how the president was caught by Primavera and got taught a lesson, that's a rumor Primavera started, you know. And it's fake? What? Oh my god. I did protected him from Primavera. I said that they harmed him, the GDS would pay them back in full. That's why the president's alive, argued Wayne. This is why you fucking kill these people. Or, like, take their fingers. They're vaguely aware that betraying the Mafia meant nothing but a death sentence. It certainly was conceivable that the president had avoided death, because the GDS had protected him. This is why you're never nice. They take advantage of that niceness and use it to their own advantage. Play dirty. However, the story wouldn't work for Primavera if it was known that they let him escape because of GDS threats. So in exchange for letting him go, they all acted like they had threatened him. Of course, Wang had made all this up. The GDS had never applied pressure in that way. Well, yeah, because why would they stick their neck out for a fucking merchant? That's suicide. It's literally World War I, butchering yourself for a smaller fucking country. However, it made sense to the businessmen. They nodded to each other, saying, yes, that's right. President Okada is still in good health and doing his job, isn't he? Was he missing a finger? Did something terrible happen to his family? Nothing did, right? That's why you take a finger. That's why you take, like, his right ring finger. He's not going to use it. It's not, like, that important, but it's noticeable. It's a symbol. Madame Rose would never do something so cruel. No, it's because I protected him. That's why he wasn't executed. See? I do protect my friends. But. I still understand how you all feel. I understand that you're afraid Primavera will do terrible things if you become my friends. So let me make you all a promise. No, not a promise. A prediction, maybe. A prediction? Rose Haibara will retire before too long. When that happens, Primavera will collapse. Those people who say strange, anachronistic things will disappear soon. How could you possibly? It's a prediction, just a prediction. The problem is what happens next. If Primavera collapses, the swarm of thugs that remains will scatter and swagger through the city again. They'll go back to the Caleb era, where violence was rampant through City 23. This part isn't a prediction, it's a promise. I promise that my GDS friends and I will protect you in a way that prevents all those thugs from laying a hand on you. By that time, the marketplace will be filled with all sorts of products thanks to our massive supply. All of my friends will deal in large quantities of those products, becoming so prosperous that they won't have time to rest. And on top of that, the thugs expelled from Primavera will be too afraid of GDS stores to lay a hand on them. In that case, what will happen to those who don't become my friends? They won't be able to get goods, they won't be able to compete on price. And on top of that, they'll be found by thugs who have nowhere else to go and have every last drop of blood squeezed out of them. The businessmen let out groans that were almost sobs, losing their composure. They couldn't think of a reason to reject Wayne's offer. Wayne, No, you don't need to say anything now. I respect time above all else. I understand its value more than anyone else. So, I want to give you all some of the most precious thing. Time. I want you to think carefully about those friends, whose friend you should be. And when Madame Rose descends from her throne, I'd like you to give me your answer.